progression? And what is going to link the two again? You know, I was at this very high-powered Eye on Earth talking about technology and how technology can solve many of our problems. But if we're not complete human beings, if our brain isn't linked to our heart, I don't think technology alone will ever get us out of the mess that we've made. So no wonder I was meeting young people, the age of university students, but some high school students, some young people just out in their first job. And I was meeting in North America, in Europe, across Africa, in Asia, in China, in Japan, in Korea, wherever I was going, I was meeting young people who seemed to have lost hope. And some of them were really depressed. Some of them were angry, even violent. Most of them were just apathetic. They just didn't seem to care. And so I began talking to these young people. And they said all more or less the same thing. They felt like that because they felt that the older generations had compromised their future and there was nothing they could do about it. Well, I've lived 77 years. And when I look at my grandchildren or some of the young people that I meet as I travel around the world, and we have one sitting here, and I think how we've harmed this beautiful planet since I was that age, I feel somehow desperate. But it's not true that there's nothing we can do about it. There are those doom-ridden prophets who say, it's too late, we're on the downward spiral, there's nothing we can do. That, in my humble opinion, is rubbish. There's an awful lot we can do. We do have to overcome three major problems. One is abject poverty, because when you're very poor, you destroy the environment to feed your family. Two is the unsustainable lifestyle of everybody in this room, including me. And three is this continuing growth of the human population. And this, hopefully, some young people are going to sit down and talk about it and think it through and come up with some solutions. But the program Roots and Shoots that you heard mentioned earlier, it did begin 21 years ago. We're 21 years of age this year. And it began with actually 12 students, high school students, on my veranda in Dar es Salaam, wanting me to go and talk to the government, wanting me to go into their schools and tell them they should do more environmental education, wanting me to go into the universities. And I said, look, I'm a foreigner. Your government isn't going to listen. Your teachers aren't going to listen. They'll just say I'm interfering. But what about you? Why don't you go back to your schools? They came from 9 schools. Why don't you get some friends together? Why don't you start talking about these problems? And then we'll meet again. So from that very simple beginning, Roots and Shoots began to take form. First of all, its main message, every single one of us, that's all of us, every one of us makes a difference every day. We cannot live through a day without impacting the world around us. And so thinking a little bit about the consequences of the very little choices we make each day, what we eat, what we wear, and so forth, and try to do those things in an ecologically friendly way. You've got this great Mazda place where I gather you're all going to move. And that's amazing. But most people for many, 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 many years will not be able to do that. But all of us in our own lives can do something. And most people feel, well, the problems are huge. I'm one person. What I do won't make a difference. And it wouldn't if it was just you or just me, or even just those of us in this room and our families. It wouldn't make any difference. But as you get more and more people thinking about what they do, it becomes hundreds and then thousands and then millions and eventually billions of people making environmentally and socially responsible choices. That's going to lead to a world which I think all of us would like to see for our great-grandchildren. So that's its main message. Every individual makes a difference every day. And what began with those 12 high school students, and the reason 16 was on your bit of paper, is that there were 4 adults who got counted by a mistake. And they were mentors, but the high school students were 12. And that program is now in 131 countries. And it's growing all the time. That's why you had over 100. And the 131st country was from the Prime Minister of Cook Island, who I sat next to at dinner 3 nights ago. And he's terribly excited because he's got 3 youth groups and he's going to introduce Roots and Shoots to those groups. So every group chooses 3 different projects. They choose the projects. Nobody tells them what to do. And they choose one project to help people, one project to help animals, one project to help the environment. And of course, they're going to be different depending where they live. The environmental problem somewhere in the middle of the United States, maybe a dirty river, is going to be very different from the problem of mangrove forests along the coast of your peninsula as developments threaten them. And so in some places there will be a lot of homeless. In another place it may be elderly people who've kind of been abandoned by their families. And so young people, I've not met a group of young people yet where there aren't some who are really passionate about animals, some who really care about the human condition, and some who want to, you know, recycle and clear up trash and do those kind of things. So we now have groups from preschool. We have quite a lot of preschool groups, and then all the grades up very, very strong in university. And more adults actually forming their own groups. So we have Roots and Shoots in prisons and all kinds of things. But what is it doing? Why is it growing like this? One, because it is youth-driven. Youth gets to have a say in what they do. And 2, because it's incredibly flexible. Anywhere you try to grow a Roots and Shoots program, it can grow. Whether it's in the inner city, whether it's in the rural areas, wherever. And of course, some of the young people in the wealthier areas, they get together and raise money for tsunami victims and people far away. And today, now here's where technology comes in. These young people, if students from this university form a Roots and Shoots group, you will be linked to, I think it's about, I don't know, maybe 80 of the 130 actually have strong university groups. It may be more, it may be a bit less. But when these young people get together, university age, my goodness, this is very powerful. And you've got all this new technology at your fingertips now, stuff that's still magic to me. I mean, tweeting and twittering and Facebooks and all these other things. And I can just about do email, but I am told, well, that's going to be obsolete soon. So anyway, so that's what Roots and Shoots is all about. So finally, we now have a program which is growing in the different countries, Roots and Shoots youth leadership programs. Young people who are leaders, who are inspired, who can inspire others, who are prepared to work hard, roll up their sleeves and get out and work at the projects that they've designed. And what we do is try to get, like you might have youth leaders from the different countries of the United Arab Emirates gathering together and talking about their problems, and then move it out a bit further and get young people, youth leaders from neighboring countries. We've had one international gathering of youth leaders from 50 countries. It was inspirational. So where do I get my hope for the future? People often believe I don't have hope for the future. They say, how can I? Because I've seen chimpanzees being slaughtered, because I've seen rainforests diminish, because I've seen prairies reduce, because I've seen mangrove swamps disappear, because I've seen species brought to the brink of extinction or even toppling over. Main reason for hope is the young people. Young people who are educated, informed, and empowered to take action. Young people to whom we listen, to whom we give the courtesy of listening to what they have to say. They are changing the world as we speak. Secondly, this brain. We have unfortunately used it for some pretty nasty purposes, like weapons of mass destruction and so forth. But now your